going on, my beautiful people? And welcome to another episode of the Hustle Coast podcast. And today we have an absolutely phenomenal guest. She is the author of a book called 50 Music Terms You Should Know, social media and music manager, and works with artists offering services like customized content and rollout plans and music marketing strategies. I give you Fabiola Fercilien, aka Ghostwrite Her.
Hey everyone. Hey Don. I'm so
Okay.
happy to be here. And yeah, ready to have a great discussion today. Thank you for the
Yes.
wonderful introduction.
Of course, absolutely. And thank you so much for being here. I know that you have amassed a great plethora of knowledge, and I know that it's going to definitely give some value to a lot of people out there, including a lot of independent artists.
For sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we kind of dive into all of your accolades, I always kind of like to start from the beginning. Where are you from? Your childhood? How was all that?
Okay, I am from New York, born and raised, and I moved out to Florida, um, 2021. It was like kind of in the middle of COVID, so it was kind of like a really good good point for me to kind of reset and kind of figure out really what I wanted to do with my life and my career around that time. Um, so like I'm the oldest of five. I never really knew what I wanted to do until like 2019, 2020. That's like when I started writing music. So I'm a songwriter first. Um, but then, of course, when you're just writing music, the money's not coming in. You start to feel a little frustrated. You kind of start to feel like, like what is my purpose, Um, so I just started educating myself on the business. I started posting TikTok videos, around the time when I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, I have nothing to lose.
Yeah, right.
And it just started making sense. Like people just started resonating with the content I was putting out. And then that's when I realized, like, there's value in educating people. There's value in the music business, and it could really help you find your way. When you start to educate yourself and you start to kind of figure out the different departments in the music industry, it really
Sure.
allows you to figure out, like, what your purpose is, figure out your place in the industry. So overall, I'm just an overall creative. I love all art. Like I'm not just into music. I love film. I love, poetry. Um, but yeah, like
Yeah,
that's kind of how I got started on the business side. So
for sure.
now I'm
And
a social. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, I'm sorry. So, not to interrupt you. So, we are
Yeah.
100% in the information era right now. So, that
Hmm.
definitely makes sense. And to be able
Yeah.
to help others and to be smart enough like you have to again amass the knowledge and then be able to share that in an easy accessible way with other people who may not, be on that same understanding is great. And we're going to get to your book because I did get a copy of your book and it's absolutely amazing and I definitely want to
Thank
talk
you.
about it. But before
Thank
we
you.
go ahead, and I also want to talk about the social media strategy as well. But before we
Yeah.
do get into that, so okay, you moved to Florida in 2021. So, but
Hmm.
back in New York, you're the oldest of five. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm also one of five, but I'm the second youngest. So what was it like being the oldest of five?
Well, so my family, they actually came out to Florida a couple years before I did. So I wanted to stay behind in New York. I wanted to just kind of do my own thing. I didn't want to really live with my family. Um, but New York is like it's a different type of hustle. Like I love New York. It's always home. But you know what they say, like sometimes you have to get out of your hometown to really find
Yeah,
yourself. Um, Not everyone is going to support you when they know you from, like, when you were younger, or when you were not necessarily sure about the direction you want to go in life, which a lot of musicians, I'm sure they can relate to. Like when you're pursuing a career, not everybody supports you.
right.
And sometimes you have to remove yourself. So I made the choice to move like in the middle of COVID. Like I
Right.
remember it was like the beginning, like January 2021. And when I moved back with my mom for a little bit, it was a little rough just because, when you move back home, you still have to follow their rules, you still have to, fall in line. So
Right.
that's kind of why I kind of just dove right into the knowledge and the education, because it's like I don't really have much to do anyway.
Right.
Um, I didn't really know too many people out here, so I had nothing but time. So
Nice. What was
yeah,
your educational background like before diving into music?
I went to school for psychology, so like
Mm.
I really wanted to be a therapist. But I guess as a music manager, you kind of are a therapist.
That's a fact. Nice.
But
Okay.
yeah, so I studied, I got my bachelor's in psychology, but like a
Mm.
part of me knew that it wasn't my passion.
Right.
Um, so yeah, the way I started writing was my friend one day, he sent me a song, like a beat, and he was like, write something to it. And I was like, what? Like, I don't do that, you know?
Hmm.
And
Right.
then I just started writing, and then it was natural, and then the rest is history. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing. And
yeah,
and also, I just the last thing I want to touch on that. So when you did move here from New York during COVID, because I remember COVID, obviously being a native Floridian, was New York
yeah.
really as shut down as they say it was?
Yes. Like when I was working, because I was working at like a car insurance company at the time, and we were literally working from home. Everything was shut down. Nail salons, restaurants, everything was shut down.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was pretty much home all the time, which gave me a lot of time to write and really like, work on my pen. But yeah, we
Yeah.
were completely shut down in New York too.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
insane. Absolutely. Yeah, I
I feel
remember one
like
time
2020
oh,
wasn't
go ahead.
real. I feel like
Yeah,
2020 wasn't real.
it really does. It feels like a lifetime ago, but then it also feels like yesterday and it feels fake but yet real. It was a very weird
Right.
time.
It was. Yeah, it was.
I have this memory of like being out at the park in Tampa, and I'm out at this park literally just jogging, getting a little workout in, there's nobody there at this park, nothing. I'm outdoors, and I just had
Crazy.
like this weird like rent-a-cop like county person pull up on me. It was like, "You're not allowed to be out here." And I'm like I can't be outside, you know what I mean? Like I'm not within 6 feet of anybody, you know what I mean?
They
It was
took it
wild.
serious. Like they
They
really
really
took
did.
like the mask serious. Like it was a crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely it was. Okay, so absolutely. So you moved to Florida and then immediately you said you jump into the social media and content strategy.
Yeah, so it's a funny story. I was on TikTok one day. No, I was on Twitter one day, and I seen this tweet, and it was like post on TikTok for 30 to 45 days, two times a day, every day, and see what happens. So I'm like, I have nothing to lose. So I went on TikTok. I started kind of just looking at other creators and kind of seeing what they do, like how they post their content, and see what their strategy was. And then I
Mhm.
started picking up on it. So I immediately recognized, okay, TikTok is an app for knowledge, right? Like people come on here to learn, people come on here to get gems, to get free game. So I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm just going to start looking up, different things about the music industry, and then I'll just share it. Like as I'm learning, I'll, educate my followers. And
Right.
then I remember on day like 45, right? Because remember, I seen the tweet. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm posting 2 to 3 times a day. I'm kind of, figuring out my niche, as you could say.
Mhm.
And on day 45, nothing really happened. I was growing followers, but like I didn't get that viral post. So
Right.
like I think like on day 50, like I posted something, and then I opened up my app, and it was like it literally blew up, and I was like, "Oh shoot, like this really
Hey.
works."
Wow.
So that's when I learned the magic behind consistency,
Mhm.
and just a lot of times that instant gratification, it really messes us up. because if you don't see the results you want to see right away, you give up or you just say, oh, it doesn't work. You know, that's not the case. You just have to be consistent. So after that, um, my whole attitude changed. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to come from this, but I'm just going to keep making content. And yeah, the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. So,
Yeah,
do you still think that TikTok is probably still the best app for artists to be using now?
absolutely. Um, if you're not using TikTok as an artist, you're honestly playing yourself.
Okay.
like
Okay.
like it's the algorithm, it's so, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like you don't have to be popular, you don't have to be anyone special for your content to take off. As long as it's valuable, I always say you know you want to give content that's entertaining, educational, or it evokes some type of emotion. You know,
Right. Yeah.
so as an artist, you should absolutely be on TikTok, sharing your music. You should be on TikTok sharing your story. You should just be sharing your life, you know, because it's all about being relatable now. The age
Yeah.
of the celebrity has kind of died. You know what I mean? Like we're never going to see that superstar status ever again.
Right.
Um, so artists, you have to be relatable in order for fans to care about your music. They have to care about you too, right? They have to feel like they can relate to you. Um,
Right.
they have to care about who you are. They have to care about your story. So I absolutely think that artists should be on TikTok. Instagram is cool, but you know everything has to be super polished on Instagram. But on TikTok,
Right.
you could really show who you are. You know.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's almost kind of like Instagram is like kind of like your business card nowadays. Like it's what you
mhm.
give, when you want people to see, what you've accomplished, but it
Right.
definitely it doesn't seem like it has that viral ability or that ability to really amass a crazy following organically, at least from what I've seen. I know a lot of it has, been ads and things like that. So,
Yeah, like Instagram doesn't give you the full picture. It's like you want to put your best on Instagram, like people want to put their best pictures, you know, your best performing content. Like what I do, I always post anything on TikTok and then the best performing content, I put it on Instagram. You know what I mean?
mm,
But
right,
like on TikTok, you don't have to show up looking super polished. You don't have to be perfect. You know, the most random stuff goes viral on TikTok. It really just matters. It just depends on like, you know, what resonated at the time, you know, and
right,
trends are really big on TikTok. Like every week there's a new trend, you know, and
mhm,
the trends pick up on TikTok before they do on Instagram. So by the time they get to Instagram, there's a new trend. You know what I mean?
right,
So I think like TikTok and that kind of back to what I was saying in the beginning, how people don't really support you. I
mhm,
find that people don't really like to support you on Instagram. You know, they might watch you, they might, you know, look at your story, but they don't really show love. But on
right,
TikTok, everybody shows love, everybody supports. It's like it's a whole different ball game. So I
yeah.
think TikTok, it like artists could really find their tribe on there. You could really find your core fan base on there if you're consistent.
Do you still think that posting 2 times a day at this time for artists is still a good idea?
Yes, I think it's a great idea, especially if you're trying to grow your page, because you know that's how the algorithm on TikTok like respects your content. You know, if they
Hmm.
see that you're consistently posting 2 times a day and the content is good, they're going to
Hmm.
continue to push it out to the algorithm. That's really how I started. I legit was posting 3 times a day every day. And it
Mm.
sounds like a lot of work, and it is, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, I
It's
still
worth it.
have videos from like when I first started 3 years ago that still gets likes, it still gets engagement. You
Oh
know,
wow.
it's yeah, it's old, but it's new to whoever saw it that day. So
Right.
yeah, I would definitely say 2 to 3 times a day for sure on TikTok.
Absolutely. And when you're doing a customized content plan for a music artist, so obviously TikTok being probably, I'm assuming, one of the top things that you're telling them that they need to focus on, and then from there, what do you think is the next thing? Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram? Like, what are the other focuses other than maybe just TikTok?
Well, with social media, every app requires a different approach. And I always say, um, stick to whatever app you're getting the most engagement on. You know what I mean? So, like,
Right.
if you find people love your content on Instagram, then consistently feed content on Instagram. Twitter or X, as they call it now. Like, I see a lot of artists that they just simply like to talk to their fans on Twitter. Um,
Mm.
YouTube and YouTube Shorts, I would say it's worth investing in for artists because one, um, you know, the money is on YouTube, so it's a good monetization or just form of income, source of income if you're consistent enough.
Right.
And when it comes to YouTube Shorts, it's essentially just like TikTok. So, I mean, you can just cross post all of your content that you post on TikTok and just post it again, on YouTube Shorts. I think it's important for artists to know what their goals are. Um, if you want to, reach a global audience, you should definitely be where people consume the most, which is TikTok. YouTube, that's where most consumers are, especially the youth. Younger people, they're the ones that really consume music because they have all the time in the world to consume the music. So, they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok. Um, so, I mean, it's not really just a one size fits all answer. I think it's important for
Right.
artists to know what their goals are and to just understand there's a purpose for every app. So YouTube is more for long form, right? So if you want to post your blogs, if you want to, post a day in the life of an indie artist, if you want to post your music videos, you're going to post that on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to show like, polished photo shoots and different content pieces, you're going to put that on Instagram.
Right.
And like you said, your accomplishments, any plaques you may have, any accolades you want to show off, that's going to go on
Mhm.
Instagram.
Right.
And again, like the behind the scenes content, the raw content, you want to put that on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, that's definitely great insight. And to piggyback off that, I mean, obviously, so at this point, you get into the social media and content strategy. I'm assuming you've now worked with a good amount of artists. Let's say,
Hmm.
what are
Yeah.
some of the most um, common mistakes that you see artists making, whether that be in social media or just in general?
Whew, I could go on and on. Um, I would say that a lot of artists tend to think that they're being annoying when they post, multiple times, or they might post the same song multiple times. But you have to think about it in this perspective, right? In 2025, there are 200,000 songs being uploaded every single day. Two 200,000 new songs being uploaded every day.
It's a
So
lot.
the industry is already oversaturated with music. So if you want your music to push through all that noise, you have to put it in people's faces. You have to be annoying with it. If people unfollow you, who cares? Like, they're just not your fan, like, you don't need them anyway. But I always say you have to post something at least 8 times in order for someone to for you to be an afterthought. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I
For
think
sure.
the first mistake is people just post once, um, and they think that's enough, and it's not even close. Another mistake I see a lot of artists do, they underestimate, they just want to be too perfect with the content that they put together, right? I always say everything is content. Like, just me and you sitting here talking right now, this is content. you
Right.
know? And it's all about how you present things. Like all I have to do is just get like a mic, put it in the background and act like I'm doing something musical, and that can present as content. Like I think
Right.
a lot of musicians, they overthink the whole content thing, and they think they have to have like a super expensive camera, and they have to have a whole crew. And it's like you
Yeah.
literally just need your iPhone and have some good ideas that really correlate with your brand, really make sense for who you are. Like you don't have to be super cringy and like try to emulate what you see other people do, but really just be yourself. But,
Right.
everything is content. Like you don't have to really overthink it. And I think
Right.
that's what makes a lot of artists um, hesitate when posting content, because they're like, okay, it's not good enough. But, I've posted random stuff, and it really be the random things that get the most engagement. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. For sure. For sure. Let me ask you this. Have you seen, for people that have gotten successful, they've been successful on socials with the content and with the consistency, have you seen that pay off monetarily, whether for yourself or for someone else? Like, is that something that could help? Is that something that is necessarily like sustainable, do you think?
Absolutely. I don't think anything happens overnight, but people are definitely paying attention, you know? So if you're consistently showing up, you're consistently providing value to your followers, um, you can get opportunities just from that. Like someone, let's like for me, for example, right? Before I worked at the company that I work now, I was literally just posting content just because. Like I didn't know why I was doing it, but I'm like, this is going to help somebody. And that's essentially how I got my job, because someone at the company hit me up and was like, "Hey, we need that. The content that you're putting out, we would like that. We need that for our company." Um, so you just never know what opportunities will come from just, being in alignment, just putting that energy out there. You
Yeah.
might find a fellow artist that wants to collaborate with you just because they see your content. They're like, "Hey, like we can work together." And one thing I want to say is like value doesn't always come from money. Like opportunities are just as valuable as money. Partnerships are just as valuable as money. Like one of my really good friends now, she hit me up just because of the content that I was posting. And because of that energy that I put out there, because of the content I was putting out there, she probably felt seen. She probably felt like, hey, she seems like a cool person. I want to work with her. I want to do this with her. You know, you can find your future business partner just from posting content. So I always think long term, like if it doesn't make you money right away, it will make you money eventually. You just have to be consistent with it, you know?
For sure, for sure. And this podcast is all about, the hustle and the discipline and the consistency. So I definitely agree, in anything, you got to be willing to do it again and again and again without getting paid at all. And,
For
that's
free.
another thing too. Yeah, for free. And that's another thing too, not to go off on a tangent here, but I've found that the people that I've worked with or done collabs with, the people that weren't, down my throat about every last penny for a feature or this or that,
Right.
those were the people that I hit up when I had opportunities or when I had something. It wasn't the people who were like, "Nah, I need this," or "I'm not even meeting with you," or "I'm not even talking to you."
Right.
When I actually had opportunities or a way for them, a way for somebody to make some money, I hit up the people that they didn't. It was just good vibes.
Exactly. And that's essentially
Yeah,
what the music industry is about. It's about
yeah,
collaboration. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
yeah.
when you see the people at the top, they're calling their friends. Like when they have an
Hmm.
opportunity, they're calling their friends. So I think that just says like that lets you know who's in it for money and who's in it for the love of it. Because
Right,
if an opportunity comes up and it's a good opportunity, I'm not going to say no to it just because there's not a paycheck attached to it. You don't
Right.
know, like, I always say networking, and that just goes hand in hand with networking, right? And just
Hmm.
collaborating. That is what the music industry is about. It's just a whole bunch of creatives collaborating and just creating epic shit. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed
Yeah.
to
No,
curse
you
on
can cut. You can curse, do your thing.
but like that's essentially what the industry is about, you know?
Hmm.
So it's a whole bunch of people doing things. We all have the same common goal. We're not getting paid for it, but we know one day it's going to pay off, right? And
Right.
because you had the decency to work with me when I didn't pay you, kind of like what you
Hmm.
said, if a paid opportunity does come up, now I'm going to think
Hmm.
about you because
Right.
now I can trust you in that way where I know he or she's not just in it for the money. Like we can actually build together. We can
Right.
actually work together, and those relationships go a long way in the music industry. Like when I go to different events, to different conferences, I see the same people every time. And
Hmm.
it's literally just the same people collaborating. So,
Right.
it's all about your goals long term.
Right. 100%. And I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, for the sake of, let's say an artist is watching this, and I come strictly from an artist perspective, okay? I'm literally a rapper who learned how to use auto tune a little bit and who knows how to write music as well, all right? But for those people who are kind of just coming up, what are some of the other ways, just to kind of refresh? I've said this, I think, on a few other my podcast episodes, but other ways they can go about monetizing their music and making money. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but just kind of like listing. Like, obviously, you got merch is one.
Right. Um, digital products like my ebook, like if you know how to make beats, you can make an ebook about how to make beats. You can make an ebook about audio engineering. You can make an ebook about just about anything. I always say
Yeah.
skills pay the bills, right? So if you're a singer, you can teach vocal lessons. If you play instruments, right? You play the piano, you can teach people how to play the piano. Um, if you're a songwriter, you can teach people how to write music. You can teach people how to make beats.
Hmm.
Um, there's so many things that you can do. Of
Yeah.
course, merch, but like not just merch just for the hell of it, but merch that makes sense to your brand.
Right.
So if you are like a earthy singer, you could come up with some earthy merch that makes sense. You could come up with some earthy clothing pieces that make sense. Um, yeah, like I
Definitely.
wish I
Definitely.
could think of some more examples right now off the top of my head,
Brand
but
partnerships,
yes.
along with that, yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
hmm
That makes sense, like you said.
Yeah, of course, like I would say brand partnerships probably come later, like when you're more
Yeah,
established. But
for sure.
again, if this is a marathon, not a race, right? So that should
Right.
always be in the back of your head thinking. And honestly, artists, you could shoot your shot and reach out to different brands that align with what you do and see, you never know, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
depending
No, that's
depending on
great.
how many followers you have, depending on the engagement you get online, they might go for it. So there's
Right.
a lot of different ways that you can make money as an artist. I say really learn to do as much as you possibly can. And there's a lot of different departments in the industry as well. There's touring. Um, there's more to the music industry than just being an artist. There's managing artists. There's, tour manager. There's, promoting shows. You can put events together. You can put together events where, musicians come to network. There's so
Right.
many things that you can do. And it all starts with educating yourself.
100%. And let's actually not forget about sync licensing, which I just
Oof.
started learning about for the first time. And I know you know a little bit about that. So
Yeah.
let's talk
Yeah,
about that.
sync is I would say sync might be a little oversaturated now, but it's still a great way, to get your income, to get another source of income. So for those that don't know, sync licensing is just putting your music behind any type of media. So that can be a movie trailer, that could be an ad on, like a commercial. Um, Obviously, movies, TV, but then there's also video games, um, a YouTube video. that's considered sync. So it's just a great way to, and the beauty about sync is like you don't need a whole song. It could be like 15 seconds of your song that happens to fit, a certain scene in a movie, or it like the whole point of sync is to enhance, is to tell a story of what's being played in front of you. Um, so I think sync is a great opportunity for older artists, especially because when you're trying to make it as an artist, there's an age where you know it's kind of too late. So sync is just a great opportunity for just those real creatives, those real artists to just continue making money forever. And the
Yeah.
beauty about sync is that you can collect multiple ways. Not only do you get the upfront fee, but you get the royalties from, the every time the TV show plays or every time the commercial plays, you get paid off of that. So if you get
Right.
enough syncs, in your profile, that's a good way to accumulate some passive income for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I just started learning about sync, and had my first meeting with the music supervisor. I'm going to be attending the music placement conference coming up here on May 3rd. Shout out to them. But
Nice.
basically, one of the things, yeah, thank you. One of the things that I found though, and I think that a lot of other artists might be able to relate to this, so I'm happy that this came up,
Mhm.
is that so for me, I get my beats a lot of different ways. I do know some producers who send me beats, but I also buy beats off BeatStars, right? Which,
Right.
same thing. If you buy your beats off YouTube, it's going to take you to BeatStars essentially.
Yeah.
And even the beats that you bought the exclusive. So, like for me, for the majority of my beats, I bought all the exclusives, right? Maybe
Mhm.
some of them I have like a lease or whatever. But even for the ones that you have the exclusive for, I'm finding out now they're really still not eligible for sync because of the fact that even though I own the master of the new, essentially derivative work, I don't
Right.
own control over the instrumental version by itself. And in sync, a
Exactly.
lot of times they're needing both. So now,
Right.
I'm coming to a point where I want to get into sync. I want to learn more about it and make songs essentially targeting toward that. So now I'm kind of trying to start spread my wings and make relationships with more local producers who are down for that because a
Right.
lot of these BeatStars producers they just want to get paid.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you said that because, that goes down to the basics of music licensing is that, there's two parts of a song. So you wrote the lyrics, but the producer owns the beat essentially, right? So
Hmm.
if a music supervisor wants to select your song, it has to get cleared on both sides. And it's funny because I made a video like a couple weeks ago about how, leasing beats isn't always the best approach if you want to get certain opportunities, for example, sync. And,
Hmm.
a lot of people were coming for me in the comments, and I'm just like, listen, I am just the messenger. Don't, like I'm just being honest. Like if
Right.
leasing beats and, like you said, getting those exclusive beats from BeatStars, it can really stop certain opportunities from coming your way. So
Hmm.
it's better to really lock in with the producer. You
Yeah.
guys have an agreement between you all, and it's just understood like if an opportunity comes our way, we can split it halfway, whatever the agreement is, but it's just so much
Right.
easier instead of having
Right.
to like track down the producer. They may not even respond. It's just a
Yeah.
headache. And I
No,
actually
100%.
have an upcoming virtual conference. It's called the Music Sync Summit, and it's going to be about sync licensing. So we're going to
Mm.
get into basically what we're talking about now. Like we're going to hear from entertainment lawyers. They're going to be talking about the legalities of sync. We're going to hear from
Nice.
artists who get sync placements like every quarter. It's really just to educate because a lot of people think like, hey, I'm just going to send in songs that I already have for sync, and that it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have
Right.
to make a song customized for a specific project, and there's
Right.
just certain things you have to have in order, So
For sure, 100%.
yeah.
And to all my artists out there who, just got nervous about what we just said, if you got all your beats off BeatStars, that's not saying that the songs you put out, you know what I'm saying, are not still amazing songs, and you might have some of those specific songs that you use for sync licensing, and then if you catch a placement, it could bring people to all of your other music. So if you still have a big catalog, you could still get paid off all of that. It's just those songs might not be eligible for sync essentially.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's all a learning experience. But sync is a very it's I wouldn't say it's like a hard industry to get into, but you have
Hmm.
to have your stuff together if you want to walk through the door.
Yeah,
Music supervisors, they get approached with music. I'm sure like almost every day they get sent music. They have a lot of responsibilities on their end when it comes to clearing, when it comes to finding the right music for certain projects.
right.
So as an artist, you have to keep that in consideration. You can't waste their time. Like if you send them a song that has a sample in it, that could potentially mess up their reputation and mess up their music supervision career. And that will get you blackballed as an artist. Um, so again, you have to having your music business together. It also saves you from ruining your reputation as a respected artist.
For sure.
It's a business at the end of the day, and there's money to be made. And if you don't come correct, you're gonna let opportunities slip easily.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. And for you, I just want to state for everybody who's watching this, you do also offer certain services like that where you help people with, correct me if I'm wrong, with paperwork and certain things like that, right?
Yeah, so I do consulting. So I help people out like with split sheets. Um, I help them, with registering their music, whether it's on their BMI or their ASCAP. Um, with music registration, a lot of people they just go for the PRO. They always refer to BMI or ASCAP, but then they forget, there's the MLC, there's Sound Exchange. Um, there's so many other music organizations that your music has to be registered with so that you can collect all of the royalties, on both sides, the publishing and the master. Um,
Right.
so I love to help artists with that because, one, we can help them get their business together. And then two, it kind of helps them get educated as well. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh, are you with the MLC? And they'll be like, what is that? And I'm like, okay, I see what's going on.
Right, right. No, for sure. And I'll say this too though, in artist defense, right? Because I talk to a lot of my friends are artists and stuff. Like we are artists, you know what I'm saying? Like not all of us not all of us are, lawyers and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like so sometimes like a lot of that, legal jargon or even like BMI, like here's something that I've even struggled with myself and I consider myself a somewhat like conscious person, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Is like the fact that it's 200% on BMI when a song is 100%. So like honestly, I'm
Yeah.
not a mathematician. I've been confused by that sometimes. Like if somebody owns 25% of a song, when I put them in BMI, so like you're supposed to put 50% in that case, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know why BMI does that. I think that's just a BMI thing, honestly, because from my knowledge, I don't think ASCAP works like that. I think that's
Right.
just a BMI thing. They double it for some reason. Like
They try to confuse us.
I have no idea why they do that, but yes, you're right. Like on BMI, for some reason they double it. So 100% would go on the publishing side or the writer side, and then, the other 100% would go like on the producer side. So
Right.
again, I don't know why they do that. And in like I said, I started off as a songwriter too, so I always can relate to the artist because I'm an artist first. Um, so I get it. I do. I know that as a creative, you just want to create. Like you don't care. Well, not that you don't care, but you just don't want to be bothered, with the business side. I get it. Um, but unfortunately, in this new music industry that we have, there's no more gatekeepers, right? So artists, if you want more control, you want to get paid, it comes with more responsibility. So back then, I guess the label would have handled all of that, right? But now unfortunately, artists have to do most of that. And if you can't do it yourself, you have to get a team. You know what I mean? So,
Or yeah, or hire somebody like you who knows
right,
and can coach and consult and tell, not essentially do it for you, but either do it for you or tell you how to do it specifically.
right. Because essentially, um, like I love having clients and everything and helping artists, but the goal is for us to be educated, right? The goal is for you to be able to not like you may not be an expert, but you should at least be able to understand what needs to be done so that you know that you're not getting scammed. People aren't robbing you blind. You know what I mean? So that you're not leaving any money on the table. So um, I always try to educate my clients as I'm helping them. Some of them are receptive, some aren't. Like I said, some artists they just, they just want to pay someone to do it so that they can create, which is fine.
Yeah,
Um, but
nothing
yeah,
wrong with that.
like it's just the industry that we're in now. Um,
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah, no, 100%. You got to make sure to have your P's and Q's, ready so when you do get that opportunity, you could just go
exactly, because
for
I
sure.
mean, your manager might not always be around. So if your
Right.
manager can't be around for some reason, you should be able to at least understand what's being discussed. You should be able to at least understand the basic concepts, which was the whole purpose of my ebook. Um,
Yeah.
I just want it to be like a simple guide so that people could always refer to it. It is a lot of information, which is why I set it up the way I did, with the graphs and the color coding. Um, because it's a lot of information, but
It
it's not
really is.
impossible.
So moving over to your ebook, which again is called 50 Music Terms You Should Know. Make sure to go purchase that, guys. It is definitely
Yes,
worth it.
yes.
So I got a copy, I went through it, and immediately there was things that I learned. So just to name a few, and this actually came up when I was speaking with one of the music supervisors, is a one-stop contract.
Yeah.
And you had that in there, so that's like a sync licensing term, but a lot
Yep.
of other stuff. You covered things from, BMI to marketing stuff and, DSPs, and basically it gets really in depth with great information. And then it has like it's I almost felt like I'm like, oh wow, like this is like kid friendly for me, you know what I'm saying? Like I can understand it. So it
That
was
was
it
the
was dope.
goal. That was the goal
Yeah.
because trust me, I know that like if I start speaking in like the lawyer jargon and using all those big words, you're gonna zone out. Like I already know how it is. Like, it's
Right.
a lot of information, and you after a while you just tune out. So I wanted to make it very very digestible so that a sixth grader can understand it. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I'm definitely gonna put the link to that ebook below in this on this video. So everybody, if you're watching this right now, go hit that link in the description and make sure to purchase that. You'll be happy that you did. Probably I would say close to the best 20 bucks I ever spent. So go
Oh,
get that.
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
let
I
me
really
ask
worked
now.
hard on it.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
you could tell. Where did you get the idea? And was there like a specific moment where it just sparked in your mind, or?
Yeah, it came from the content I was posting on TikTok. Like I would post
Okay.
different music terms that artists should know, and I'm like, I should just turn this into a book, because I'm posting it. It's getting a lot of engagement. So I'm like, at that point, I was, how people put like part 30. I'm like, I'm at like
Yeah.
part 60 at this point. Like I might as
Right,
well put
right.
it into a book. So yeah, it kind of just took a
100%.
life of its own. Yeah.
That's what's up. What was your biggest challenge when you were putting it together and writing it?
Um, it was it was just discipline. Like I told myself I was gonna apply at least an hour every day to putting it together. Um, so yeah, I would say I already had the knowledge. Um, it was just completing it, executing it. I told myself I was gonna finish it before December 31st, 2024, and I did.
Hmm.
So that
Oh
was just
wow.
a personal goal I had for myself last year. I
Yeah.
told myself I just wanted to put out something that uh, people could really utilize in their everyday as a indie artist. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it was something that I wanted to do for a long time, and I'm actually really proud of myself, that I executed it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Big congratulations on that. And like I said, it's an amazing book.
Thank
And
you.
is there any possibility it might be also turned into a video training at any point?
YouTube. YouTube
Oh
is
yeah.
just a whole different beast. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm pretty good with like TikTok and Instagram, but like you have to really commit to YouTube.
Yeah.
But I mean, I never really thought about turning it into a training. You kind of just gave me an idea, or maybe some
Hey.
type of podcast of my own. I don't know. But
Yeah. Or a Udemy course.
yeah, that's true. Hmm. Yeah, maybe I'll look into it.
All right. I like it. I like it. All right. And so let me see here. So what do you have a specific term in the book that stands out to you that is specifically like misunderstood? Or again, I know we've kind of been talking about this, but just something in particular where you're like, this part I always kind of find myself having to either explain or people have questions on.
Yes, the copyright. So kind of like what we were saying, a music copyright, it's split into two. So when you think of a song, I know it sounds confusing, but you have to think of it as the creative part, right? So the publishing side is going to be the writing of the lyrics, right? And the making of the beat. That's going to be part one. So that's the composition. Composition equals just simply creating the song, right? And
Right.
then the second part of the song is actually the recording, like the final recording that gets distributed. That's what people stream, on Spotify, on Apple. That's what music supervisors use, when they sync your song to, a movie or whatever the case is.
Right.
And it's such a simple concept, but it took me so long to really understand the difference between the two.
Yeah.
But it's important to know because, again, you get paid on both sides.
Mm,
If you're an independent artist and own all of your music, you own the composition and then you own the master recording. Um, so it's really the basics of the music industry, in my opinion. I think every
yeah.
musician should understand that, like in their sleep.
Right.
You should absolutely understand that composition is not the same thing as the recording because you can write a song and it just stays in your notebook or in your your voice note and you never actually record it and distribute it out. So there's a
Right.
very um, there's a slight difference between the composition and the master recording, and it's really crucial for every artist to understand that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let me ask you this: is there any artists that you've worked with that or maybe that you haven't even worked with, but you just really like their music? Is there anybody upcoming that you got your eye on, whether you work with them or not, that you just kind of like want to shout out or you've been listening to lately?
Ah, honestly, I listen to the same music that I listened to when I was in high school.
Nicely
Like,
done.
I'm not gonna lie, like I try to listen to new like okay, there's what is her name? Um I'm forgetting her name right now, but she's kind of like a alternative artist. I think her
Okay.
name is like Amaya or something like that.
Okay.
She put out this song. It was called. Oh, let me just see if I can look it up real quick because she was one artist that really did catch my eye because it's like I said, I really listened to the same music that I did. Okay, her name is Alameda, and I think she's signed to the same um, the same label that Kendrick is signed to.
Okay. Is she a
Um,
New York artist?
no, I think I'm not sure where she's located. I think she's
Okay,
based in
okay,
California right now, but I don't think she's from New
okay.
York.
Shout out
But
to her.
yeah, like I like to listen to music that's different because sometimes a lot of the music in this era kind of sounds the same.
Mm,
But yeah, she's one artist that really caught my eye last year, and she's not
nice.
like R&B. She's like kind of rock alternative.
That's right.
But yeah, I think she's dope.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so moving to the end of the interview here, I do just kind of have a couple of, obviously we talk business. I feel like
Hmm.
you are definitely able to provide a lot of value that artists are gonna be able to take from this. But now I just kind of have a couple of more fun questions just
Yeah,
for
sure.
people, to get to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
So the first one is, do you have any hidden talents other than
Hidden
songwriting, which
talents.
we're gonna have to talk more about next time too, because I also want to know more about that. But
I think I'm a great cook. I'll say that.
mm,
It's kind
okay.
of like a hobby for me.
Hmm.
Because like I'm always working, so it's kind of like a moment for me to just like shut out the world, and I put a lot of love into my food. So it's not
Hmm.
like a talent per se, more like a skill.
Nice.
But yeah, I think I'm a really great cook for sure.
Hey, that's a blessed skill to have, is what I can say. Right? All right. And when you're not working, what do you do for fun other than cook?
I love concerts. I love going out to eat, like out to eat at restaurants. I'm such a foodie. I love food.
Nice.
Um, um, recently, I've just been trying to find like different hobbies outside of work. So I like jazz clubs, like seeing like live jazz artists perform. I like to paint, like sipping paints. So yeah, I just like to anything that kind of gets my mind off of work. That's what I kind of do in my free time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely fun. Do you have any favorite movies or TV shows?
Yes, okay, so I am like a show repeater. Like I will watch the same show over and over because I have my comfort shows. So
Right.
I love Gossip Girl. I love Grey's Anatomy. Like I am a Grey's Anatomy fanatic.
Nice.
I love Girlfriends, Sex in the City.
Nice.
um, yeah, what was the other oh my movies. Okay, so
Or movies.
yeah, I love Scarface. Like I love mob
Ooh, I love
movies.
Scarface.
Like I
I love
love,
mob
love,
movies too.
love mob movies. I
Nice.
love documentaries like dark, twisted
Like
documentaries. Yeah.
cultish and
Not
murderous.
cultish. Well,
Oh, okay.
like Snapped, you know?
Oh, I like Snap.
That's my jam.
Yeah, Snapped is dope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And then I know I kind of asked you this in the form of a different question, but I kind of just want to ask it a little differently. Is there any artists in the Orlando/slash Central Florida area right now that you want to shout out that are doing this thing that you see grinding?
Yes. So recently I went to my friend Caitlin Morales. She had like a EP release. And it was pretty dope. Um, I loved how she set up her release party because it was very intimate. She was very engaged with the crowd. Like after every song, um, she would ask the crowd what they thought. She would, ask for our feedback. It was very, I feel like every artist should do that when they drop a project, just to bring your fans together and just, make it more intimate. And of course, I got to shout out my girl Simba. I love her. Um,
Shout out Simba.
she's just that girl in Orlando. She's always bringing other artists together. She is a visionary in every sense of the word. She has her non for profit where she helps the youth. She has her open mic that she does every month. She's a poet herself. She's an artist herself, and she's always doing her thing. She's always showing love, and yeah, that's my girl. So
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out Simba. And those are some great shout outs. Keep doing your thing.
Mhm.
So what's next for you? Any new projects or books on the horizon? I know you had mentioned there's also another a sync. Uh, is it a
Yes.
conference or is it a meeting?
Yeah, so it's a virtual music sync conference. So it's
Okay.
kind of going to be like this setup right here. You can just tune in, from the comfort of your own home. We're going to
Nice.
have an artist panel, which features artists that are actively getting syncs. We're going to have a marketing panel, which is going to give you insight on how to market yourself as an artist that wants to get into the sync world. There's going to be a legal panel with some entertainment lawyers. There's going to be a sync panel where we actually have um, music supervisors and sync reps, people who are actively pitching music. They're going to be on our panel. We have a Latin music panel, which is, I think, going to be very interesting because Latin music is like a trend in sync right now. So we're just going to get some insight from, music publishing companies, a Latin music publishing company, and just a Latin artist that's actively working in the industry. And there's going to be a VIP session where you can actually play your music for the music supervisors on the panel.
Oh
So
wow,
I think it's gonna.
that's
I'm
dope.
hoping it's gonna be great. I always, have a positive attitude. I think it's gonna be awesome. We're super excited about it. That's gonna be June 7th to the 8th. So that's a Saturday and Sunday. Again, you don't have to leave your house. You could tune in anywhere. As far as me, I'm still pushing my ebook, of course. So that's for sale. Um, uh, what else? I'm trying to get back into songwriting because I feel like I've kind of neglected that part because I'm so into the business side. So, I can't neglect my gift. So I'm always trying to keep that alive. As far as any new digital products, I'm thinking about a few things. I don't want to speak too soon, but
Sure.
you can definitely expect some more digital products soon. I'm just not sure what, but definitely on the way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. And where again can people go to grab your ebook and connect with you online?
Yeah, so my website, it's www.l, so that stands for written with love, and then byfl.com. Um, it's literally on the top of, in the tabs on top, you'll be able to see 50 music terms ebook. If you follow me on Instagram, which is ghost right underscore her, or is it ghost underscore right her, something like that. Um,
I'll tag you under in the description as well, so don't worry.
yeah, so it's in my bio, it's all over my page. I practice what I preach, so I'm always posting about it. I'm always sharing content that relates to it. So yeah, I would love for I just it's really like an ultimate artist guide, kind of like what you said. It is a lot of information, but it's there for you, accessible whenever you need it. Um, so yeah, it's in my bio and it's on my website. So
Yeah, and on top of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're watching and you're an artist and you need help directly, you can also book a consultation with Fabiola here, and she can, one on one give you that time to go, check out what you're going through, help you, give you coaching and consulting as well, right?
yes, absolutely. So I do offer consultations. You can just get the consultation on its own, but I decided to make the ebook and the consult like a bundle. So
Mm.
one, you can get both for almost half the price. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, I just like to add value to whatever I do. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The ebook also, comes as a bundle with the consultation too.
Oh, perfect. So you guys make sure again, go hit that link in the description and hit her up. She is going to help you with all of your social media, all of your paperwork needs. But again, Fabiola, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Hustle Coast podcast today. I thank you so much for all of your insights, all of your knowledge. I want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. It's been an absolute
Yeah.
pleasure. And make sure to tune in to the next episode of the Hustle Coast podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. And, hopefully we could collaborate again soon. This was awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is dope. I love what you're doing because it's not easy, you know, having the podcast hustle, being consistent with it. So I'm just really proud of you. So keep
Wow.
going.
Yes, thank you so much.